I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Hi, my beautiful community, and welcome back to the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. You know how much I appreciate you. I so appreciate you spending time with me and our awesome community every week or whenever you can. We are here every week on your favorite podcast platforms. And if you're new here, I'm Megan Waldrop. I'm your host, and I'm just so grateful that you took the time to come visit us today. I hope that you return. And we have so many different topics that we discuss on this podcast. It's not just for partners of commercial fishermen. It's for fishermen, supporters of the industry, people who are curious about the industry. And we talk about all things relationship, advocacy, finances, environment, fisheries. The list goes on and on. If it has to do with our lifestyle, which is so incredibly unique, yet very relatable, I will say in certain ways, we are talking about it here. There's nothing that is untouched because that's how we do. We like to get in there, get deep, because there's no time like the present. Life is beautiful. Life is short, and it's all about connection. And that's what I want to build within this podcast. I've had such a pleasure of getting to know you through our beautiful blog. It's on POCFpride.com. It's a link in the show notes if you want to visit, and on social medias for over, we've been talking about Partners of Commercial Fishermen for over 5 years now. I believe I started talking about it on the blog in 2019. I wrote one blog post and it was entitled 9 Things to Know When Dating a Commercial Fisherman. I threw it out there. I put it out there because there was literally nothing online about dating a commercial fisherman. How do I know that? Because I typed in, quote, how to date a commercial fisherman, and nothing popped up. And I'm thinking, how the heck is there nothing online about this type of lifestyle or being with this person? And as a military brat, it really reminded me of what it was like to witness the military spouses and the families and what they went through when their soldiers went off for long periods of time, and seeing them man the home front, and the emotional and the mental struggles and challenges, and also the joys that came out of that particular lifestyle. And so, like I said, there was nothing online. I threw that up there. I didn't think anything of it. I was just thinking, man, you know what? The world needs to have something about commercial fishing and dating a commercial fisherman. It was a little satire, it was a little tongue in cheek, but it was also kind of like hey, this is just to let you know, this is what to expect. I didn't think anything of it after I published it. But the next thing I knew, I had emails coming in from women all over the world, from Australia, the UK, Canada, all parts of the US, saying that they understood. And that made me feel so incredibly validated, and it made me feel seen, and it made me feel like I was less alone. And I thought, man, if other people think this way, then we need to keep talking about it. So I'd write more about the lifestyle. I started interviewing women around the country and now around the world about their experiences as partners of commercial fishermen. I put it on the blog, and we've since grown into this incredible worldwide community, so supportive. And I love every single one of you that I've interacted with. And I love you, even if I haven't met you, because we share this incredible bond. And now we have a podcast, and I cannot believe that in May of this year, April, May, I'm still fuzzy on the dates, but that's okay. Time flies when you're having fun, right? We will have done the podcast for 2 years, which means it's an even better not better. I won't say better. Blog is beautiful in its own way. It's a different, incredible platform to be able to connect with you on a deeper level. And that's always what I want. I want to reflect to you your value into your hearts. I want you to know how much you are valued, not only to your partner, which you are in more ways than they could possibly explain it. You are more valuable than you know to the industry. And I'm going to talk about it right now because this month's theme is bringing the feminine into fishing, which is also a huge part of advocacy, which is a very big topic in our community. There's a lot of women that want to know how they can contribute. What can they do to help save some fisheries, help save fisheries? What can they do to help their fisheries thrive? And I feel that bringing the feminine into fishing and advocacy complement each other so much because Please note this, since the beginning of our economic civilization, POCFs have been instrumental in keeping the industry going and protecting our fisheries, fishermen, and fishing families. I'm talking pre-Vikings, like BC. The first time anybody had a transaction about buying a fish, there was a partner of a commercial fisherman behind that fisherman going, okay, so now what are we going to do? Here, I can help you organize this. Da, da, da. We are a part of that lineage. We are a part of that lineage in such a beautiful way. And now we are making it into our own as we have our own modern lives as POCFs. And that can be defined in so many ways. We're stay at home moms, the hardest job in the world. We are career women. We are our independent women selves. We help support our communities, our bigger families at large, and we support our fishermen. And there's so many different aspects to what it means to be an advocate. And I just want to let you know that you being with your fishermen is a huge part of that piece. So please don't, second guess that at all. What you bring to the industry and what you bring to your relationship is so vital. And it's the reason for the industry's success. So bravo to you. Mic drop. We're here, the Partners of Commercial Fishermen. God bless us, all of the good things. We deserve it. Okay. You deserve to be celebrated every freaking day. And that's what I'm here to do. And that's what I'm going to do with this episode. Actually, I'm passing along tips that may help you next time you're speaking to an audience, or if you're chatting with friends or family outside of the industry, or maybe customers who are purchasing from your direct to consumer fishing business, or even on social media. I recently did a speech with a group called Green Drinks. I believe it's a nationwide group, and they have different groups in different parts of the country, different states. And I believe, from my understanding, they're talking about the environment. People who are very interested in the environment come to these green drinks, and they are hosted at breweries, or at least the one in Wilmington, North Carolina was. And they ended up featuring the blue economy, and that was their theme for I think it was Tuesday. And so I was honored to be asked to go up there and speak and represent the more personal human side of it. The blue economy, that's such a giant, large name that encompasses so freaking much. Everything that has to do with the ocean is lumped under this umbrella title called blue economy. It trickles down to the blue economy is even on NASDAQ. Okay. There are so many aspects to it. And we are a huge freaking part of that. So, like I said, I was so honored to be asked. And I realized as I was preparing my speech with this audience, I realized that I needed to tweak it from different speeches that I've done in the past. I've spoken at the Pacific Marine Expo on the National Fishermen Panel, and that was such a great experience. And it was really cool because I got to speak to people of our industry. So there were an audience of fishermen, audience of partners of commercial fishermen. And so it was I used different language, because people they understand where we're coming from. They get us, like they get it, Another speech that I did was in June, and then another one in December. And I was speaking to a room full of business people. There was ex-CEOs, entrepreneurs, and various types of people who have run various different businesses. And so I knew then that I needed to tweak my language to make sure that I was able to connect with them in a certain way. And so this presentation at Green Drinks was really my first time speaking to the general public about commercial fishing, because not everybody really understands what that means. And to be honest with you, I didn't even really understand what that means until I started dating my now husband, 9.5 years ago. I didn't really understand what commercial fishing was. And to remind myself that I am speaking to people who might not understand what that is was really helpful in breaking down the important topics that I felt was important for people to understand, and to break it down in a way that would be fun and easy to understand. Because I think if you've been listening to this podcast, we've had some incredible guests. We also had incredible POCFs, and a lot of language is shared there, lots of acronyms. Like, do we all understand what exactly we're saying at any moment? It's really what it is. I am constantly finding myself stopping people and saying, okay, what does that acronym mean? What is this term mean? Asking questions is huge. And so writing this speech and knowing I was talking to the public, I went into that mindset of going, okay, are people going to understand what the word fishery means? Let's break it down to even that. Like, what is a fishery? So I'm going to go through several steps on what helped me put together a good conversation and good speech for this audience, but also what I will carry with me when I'm speaking to other people that, like I said, your family, your friends that might not understand commercial fishing, the public, or if you have direct to consumer uh, customers. And I want to shout out Ashley Vellis of Ashley Seafood. She was a guest on our podcast in January. She had 2 episodes of her talking about how she learned to create a direct to consumer fishing business. And she really did inspire me because on that interview, she talks about how sometimes interactions with customers, or at least there was one particular customer, got a little, maybe not, got a little heated, maybe not on her end, but the customer was kind of maybe going after her a little bit about commercial fishing, and she was able to remain calm, and she was able to ask questions and listen, and was able to have a really, really productive conversation with this customer and answer questions about commercial fishing that made them realize, oh, wait, commercial fishing is sustainable because there are so many rules and regulations that make it so. I'm speaking from US commercial fishing. I know that Canada has very sustainable, from my understanding, Australia, the UK. I'm not sure. I can only speak for the United States, but this is from what I've heard from other partners of commercial fishermen around the world. But if, as a US commercial fisherman's wife, we can say that commercial fishing in the United States is sustainable because there are so many rules and regulations. And then people are saying, well, what do you mean? Then you can start talking about the regulations that your partner goes through on a daily basis and kind of break it down for them. Talk about fish tickets, talk about the type of gear they use, talk about the amount of space they are able to fish, talk about the fact that they can't fish within marine sanctuaries. It's little data points like that that's really going to help connect people to what we deal with to help make sure that our fisheries are long lasting and that we're playing by the rules. That's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to get down to the helpful tips whenever you're talking to people or giving a speech or whatever it is. I hope these are helpful. Take it as you like, leave whatever doesn't work, and, more power to you. And thank you for all that you do. Okay. So number 1, know your audience. I kind of mentioned this a little earlier, but understand their interests and knowledge level and expectations. Really, you want to tailor your content and tone to connect with them. You don't need to explain terminology when speaking to a fishing community, for example, like I mentioned, because you can give them more direct feedback. But if you're speaking to the public or a customer or a friend, explain what specific terms mean. Explain to them like they're in 3rd grade, like someone who has never heard of fishing before. For a lack of a better term, mansplain to them, but in a nurturing way. Sorry, men, if that was very offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive, but mansplain. I'll want to know what I'm talking about. Like I was saying, I was speaking to a group of business owners and CEOs, and I realized that the term fisherman even meant a lot of different things to different people. Fishermen can mean sports fishermen, aquaculture fishermen, commercial fishermen. And people that I've spoken with, I realize don't often think of commercial fishing when you say fisherman and all that it entails. So describing these differences is essential to better understanding your perspective. So whenever now when I speak to people, especially when I'm doing presentations, I say, I am the partner of a wild caught commercial fisherman. That helps. That helps to say, oh, what a wild caught commercial fisherman. Then you can talk about what that means for you. Number 2, research and organize your content. I love doing this. So I did an outline for the speeches. I outlined my key points. I had the intro, I had the main points I wanted to make, and then I had a way that I wanted to conclude it. I use stories and data and examples to make my messaging more engaging, and keep it concise. Respect your audience's time and their attention spans. Honestly, like, are you talking to a group of like elementary school kids? Are you talking to college kids? It depends on who you're speaking with on how deep you want to go into those data points. Practice, practice, practice. This is number 3. I love this one. And also, I also kind of like feel resistance when it's time for me to practice. Because as a writer, I'm thinking, oh, it looks great on the paper. I don't need to practice. Yeah, no, practice. Okay. Like it is a game changer. For example, I use Canva to create my presentations. And if you don't know, Canva is incredible for all kinds of any graphic design work that you might need and more. I mean, more things that I don't even know about. But you can create presentations on there. There's a lot of features on there that are free. So you don't even have to sign up for a plan. So you make a presentation and there's an actual aspect little icon that you can tap within your presentation once you're done. And you can bring up a timer. And so you can time yourself. So if you only have, 5, 10, 15 minutes to speak, you can actually practice within that timing, which has been super helpful for me in the past. So yeah, I talk out loud. I'm projecting my voice. I'm in my office. I'm projecting like I'm talking to an audience. I'm walking however I want to handle myself. And I make sure to notice, my tone, my clarity, and my body language. I'm not just sitting here like leaning on one leg, like kind of looking at my paper and not engaging. I'm really practicing and I want to have that confident and open posture that seems that I know what I'm talking about, because guess what? I do and you do. You definitely know what you're talking about. If you're speaking from your personal experience, you can't go wrong. Okay. So this is the other thing. Number 4, master your body language, maintain eye contact with different sections of the audience and use natural gestures. I heard that if you keep your hands at waist level, that is more of a power, confident way to handle yourself. And like I said, I'm not leaning on one leg. I'm not leaning on the podium. I'm making sure my shoulders are back as much as I can and my head is straight and I am projecting to the crowd. And that's another thing, projecting to the crowd. Number 5, work on your voice and delivery. Want to talk about your speed and your volume. Make sure that your tone, you keep it interesting. So like I said, if you have that timer, very helpful to know how much time you have to emphasize your key points with pauses and vocal inflections. And you can try to avoid filler words like like, and which yes, if you listen back, I've probably said all those things, but it's okay. I'm human. Doing my best here, y'all. And that's the other thing. We're human. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be true and passionate and from the heart. Number 6, prepare for a Q&A. You can anticipate possible questions and have responses ready. Don't go too crazy here. I feel like I had to stop myself from spiraling. I'm like, what if they ask about this and what am I going to say? And then I realized, oh, well, if I don't have an answer, just acknowledge it and offer to follow up. So I thought, okay, well, if they ask me a question that I don't know, I'll say, you know what? I'm not really informed on that topic, but if you are, please send me any links and I'd love to connect with you further so we could follow up on it. Number 7, this is such a great one. Probably the most important if you're thinking about public speaking and it giving you like any kind of pause there. Number 7, manage anxiety and help build your confidence. So before you speak, take deep breaths. Focus on the message and not yourself, and remind yourself that the audience wants you to succeed. Before I got up there to speak in front of the public, my heart was racing. It wasn't racing like the scaredest, most nervous I've ever been, but it was up there. I really love connecting once I start speaking. It's the leading up to that moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's about to happen. Like, it's okay to feel that way. That's excitement. That's passion. Use that to fuel you. It's not saying that you shouldn't be up there. If anything, it's saying that you're about to do something very, very important. And this is a very special time to acknowledge that. So take a couple deep breaths before you speak. I like to visualize myself speaking how I want to speak. I want to visualize myself standing tall, projecting, smiling to the audience, looking up at them in the eye and speaking like the great speakers that I've seen. I visualize myself doing that, and that's been really helpful. 8, this one is very, very important if you're able to. And you can even do this, not only on slides, but even on your phone. Number 8, use visual aids wisely. So this can be in that Canva presentation, or you can even have a folder of photos on your phone to show people when they're thinking, oh, what does your partner do? And what does that look like? And blah, blah, blah. Have a little folder, of a couple photos. You don't have to go in depth. I mean, you could be a nice little 12 photo spread, whatever you want, showing you on the boat, your fishermen, the boat, the seafood they catch, what it's like to be together, the selfies and all these good things. But and use them wisely. So whenever you're using the slides, for example, on Canva, I like to have notes on the slides that are different from what I'm presenting because I don't want to read directly from the slides. I just use them to help support my speech. I don't enjoy it when I see people presenting and they're just reading from the slides or they're just reading from their script. It's like, well, I could have done that. I could have done what they're doing, but I could be reading what you're saying right now. Like, give me something new. Like, give me some juice here. And you want the visual aids to be simple, visually appealing, not all text, more images to give them more of a perspective of what you're talking about. So, number 9, engage with your audience. You can ask questions or include interactive elements into your speech, or whenever you're talking to your customer or your friend or family, and read their body language and adjust accordingly. If they're really into it, be like, all right, cool. I'm going to go deeper and see if and engage with them more. But if they're kind of looking like they're looking off or blah, blah, you don't need to go there. You just save your energy. Okay. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. That's okay if people are disinterested. That's fine. That doesn't reflect on you and your skills. There might be reasons that they're not listening because they have short attention spans. Maybe something you said triggered them in some way, or maybe they're thinking about their lost uncle who was a fisherman, or their lost love, or who knows what people think. But it's no reflection on you. Okay, if someone seems like they're disinterested and they're disengaging, that's okay. It's okay to gracefully bow out from that situation. But if the audience is disengaging in some way and you're still up there speaking, just still speak from your heart. You can't go wrong with that. You are going to reach somebody, and somebody in that audience is going to make a difference for them. And that's really what it's all about, is helping that one person. So another one is to have a strong opening and closing statement. So my opening, I like to share what it's like as a partner of a commercial fisherman. And you could start with a story, a question, or some statistic to grab people's attention. And then end with a memorable takeaway or a call to action. So I ended my recent speech with a fun fact about the Lunar New Year and how the spiny lobster is the centerpiece for most celebrations because it represents luxury, because it was imported from the US, and it symbolizes the dragon, which represents strength and fortune. And it's also the color red, which is a power color and is believed to bring luck. And then in the next slide, my final slide, I showed my contact information for the website, socials, the podcast, the LinkedIn, and I had a QR code that takes them to a list of my contacts and different community offers. So yes, that is a little breakdown for you, if it is helpful, on how to connect with people outside of the industry, on what you do and what to say and how to connect with them if you want to help them gain more of a perspective on what it's like, not only as a partner of a commercial fisherman, but what it takes to bring fish and seafood to their table, to give them a little insight on the people behind the wild-caught seafood that they find in grocery stores or at a restaurant. We're out here. They're going to be able to relate to that on a personal level because they're speaking to you, and they're going to look at wild-caught seafood differently now because of the interaction that you had with them. Whether you're standing in the grocery line, whether you're at yoga class, at your kids' pickup, talking to your neighbor, it doesn't matter. Anytime that you're able to share your story is a huge part of that advocacy piece. You don't need to be preaching from the mountaintops. You don't need to have a TED Talk. You don't need even to have a podcast to make a difference. It's all about the way that you connect and the way that you show love through what you love most, which is your number one, you, number two, your fishermen, your family, your fisheries, and this incredible, unique life that we have as partners of commercial fishermen. So thank you so much for being here, and to your next conversations being productive and passionate and full of love. I'll see you next time with love and POCF pride. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.